Hey guys, this is Mikko from ML Sound Lab, and today I'll be talking about one of the coolest things about guitar cabinet mic ups: inter-mic phase. Okay, we're talking about phase here, which is a very advanced topic. Essentially, when you have two of the same signal coming in a slight micro latency, you get phase issues many times. And this is something that most of the time you're trying to get rid of. For example, when you're miking up a snare drum, you have two microphones or maybe three on that snare drum. You try and get those in phase so you get the best punch and sound. However, when it comes to guitar cabinet mic ups, you can actually use phase as a tool for making the guitar tone even better, and that is what we're talking about here today. Now, the easiest way for me to demonstrate this inter-mic phase is to actually use our Mikko 2 plugin that we just released with my company ML Sound Lab. Go get it now with an intro deal. Anyways, this Mikko 2 comes with a preset called latency high cuts. And you may see in the UI of the Mikko 2, we have a phase section here. If you go to the second microphone, you'll see that I've used quite a lot of this latency. And if you are looking at this spectrum graph, take a listen to that high end when I'm playing you these guitars. That's a very pleasant sound. Now, to achieve this sound, I actually had to use the latency functions here. So have a listen to what happens when I sort of remove the latency, as in put these two microphones more in phase with each other. So the sound got brighter, and it now has sort of this nasty thing going on somewhere in the 4, 5, 6K area. So the cool thing here is that I can actually use latency to get a very pleasant high end for these two mics together, and this is because of inter-mic phase. We're on purpose putting them out of phase to achieve this cool sound, and I would argue that many of the best mic ups in the world have a lot to do with inter-mic phase. Take, for example, the Fredman mic up with two 57s. In reality, when you have two 57s placed that way, they will be out of phase. So I think that is actually the reason why that mic up sounds the way it does. Not because of the angling of the mics, more so because of the phase thing that happens. So let's have a listen to what happens when I really tweak the latency up on this 421 microphone here. Now that is a very cool way of kind of smearing the top end to really finesse it. It's a very different sound when compared to something like a low pass filter. Let me just quickly demonstrate that. So removing the phase and adding this low pass filter here. So using this latency actually retains that kind of transient, that definition of that high end, while making it more pleasant sounding. While just using the low pass filter or high cuts, you actually kind of get rid of that character in the high end. So this is a big part of how I get the best impulse responses that I make. Many times I use three microphones, and maybe one of those microphones will be out of phase, or they will all be out of phase slightly. Now, here is a big secret tool within the Mikko 2. So if you just double click on the spectrum, ta-da, what you get is actually a phase curve. Now, I won't really be going too deep into how to read a phase curve. One thing to note is that the EQ that we have here in the EQ balance section influences the phase. So if you're looking at this curve looking like that's weird, it's because we actually have some EQ on here. But anyways, let's concentrate on that top high end and see what happens when I turn this latency knob. So it's safe to say that once that high-end latency kind of phase curve goes into this territory where it's all spiky, you've likely gone a little bit too far. However, in many of these things, I highly recommend you use your ears for kind of evaluating this. This may actually sound amazing. There are no rules really, but you can do this where you sort of find the sweet spot with the latency where you don't have those crazy spikes in the high end, especially below 10K or so, because that is very audible in guitar. And that is likely the darkest sound you can get. Let's have a listen to that. Okay, let's go through another cool phase trick that we have here, which is phase flip, switch, reverse, whatever you want to call it. So if we have this latency kind of off, now these are perfectly in phase. If we reverse the phase on one of these microphones, you will get a horrible sound that sounds like this. But you can use this as a tool. So when you reverse the phase on two microphones, they become sort of a math equation. So what you're hearing now is the difference between the two microphones, sort of. So what you're trying to find is a position where this sound doesn't have anything tonal in it. So where you don't really hear the notes. There's no note definition. And once you find a position where it's a very nasty sound that doesn't have any note definition, or you can't really even hear the riff properly, that will likely be the best mic position out there. Doesn't even have to have anything to do with the latency in the phase section. You can find microphone positions with this technique similarly just by flipping the phase reverse button here. But let's just kind of try and find a position, maybe just tweak around with the 421 and find a position where we don't really hear any tonal character. We don't hear any notes. We just hear some muffle or some kind of a weird sound. Let's have a listen. So now the sound got better, which in this case is actually worse. We're trying to find a nasty sound right now. Somewhere in here it's probably the nastiest. Don't really hear note definition, just hear a honk and all that nasty stuff. Okay, so the song got better, so this is not the direction we want to take it. That might be it. Now, we sort of have a nasty sound going on. If we flip the phase back, we should have a very tonal mic up, meaning that we have the best note definition. Let's have a listen. I hope this works. And it definitely worked. So that is just a quick way of demonstrating a cool trick that you can do with the phase reverse in the Mikko 2. You can also do this with real cabinets. Obviously, that is a very cool way of finding a really nice two mic up that really works well. So we maximize the tonal character where we hear the tone, kind of note definition and things like that. When we find a phase reversed position where you don't really hear the notes that well, and where you just hear that nasty sound. Now let's flip the phase and see if we can play around with the latency and get even a better result. I think it got even worse when we just added a slight bit of latency in here. Let's have a listen. And let's compare that to not having any of the latency on. Very slight difference. So a very minor difference, but maybe a little bit better to have just a little bit of that latency on. Okay, this is just a quick way of showing you how to add latency to get something pleasant out of your mic up. Like I said, you can add even a third microphone and play around with 3 microphones with different phase kind of latency. So that will give you even more options. And what you're really trying to look for is that tonal character. And you know, when you really have that phase reverse with that nasty sound going on where you don't hear the notes, that is the best position. That's when you want to flip that reverse phase switch and you have the best sound possible. Okay, thank you so much for watching the video. I've been Mikko from MO Sound Lab. I've been using the Mikko 2 plugin for this demonstration. Just want to say that the Mikko 2 comes with a free version that comes with one cabinet, which is one of my best cabinets. So even if you don't want to spend any money on this, just get the Mikko 2 free and you have the best cabinet simulator in the world for free. And you can play around with all this stuff that I showed you here. So go kind of experiment and have fun with miking up guitar cabinets yourself. Thank you so much for watching the video and see you on the next one. Bye bye.